Welcome, sports fans. Hey, don't forget to pick up the latest copy of 912 Sports Magazine on newsstands now. Week 5 is in the books, and Kevin Price and I will have a preview of Week 6 coming up next.
Welcome to On Air with 912 Sports, your number one source for high school sports. With Sean Smoke and Kevin Price. On Air with 912 Sports is brought to you by Coastal Pines Technical College. Go Coastal. Prime South Bank. Find your prime. Robbie Robertson Ford, because Fords are cheaper in the swamp. Gibson Animal Clinic. Practical solutions with limited fees. Summit Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Surgery, the region's best orthopedic care. And Kim Smoke, licensed realtor with eXp Realty.
It makes sense Prime South Bank would have a great mobile app. Nobody is as mobile as our customers. For a century, they've chased dreams, followed their hearts, took the road less taken, made a new path, taken leaps of faith. At Prime South, offering the latest digital banking, secure pay apps, and new online lending is part of a mobile tradition that goes way back. Life is mobile. So is Prime South. Find your Prime. Member FDIC.
High schoolers, did you know that you can get a head start on your college career and save money at the same time through dual enrollment at Coastal Pines Technical College? Dual enrollment is open to high school juniors and seniors, tuition free. Talk to your high school counselor or visit coastalpines.edu for more information. Coastal Pines Technical College, an equal opportunity institution. Go Coastal.
Play it loud and rev it up. Robbie Robertson's got trucks built for tough.
Make your way to Robbie Robertson Ford in Waycross, where the deals are bigger than ever. Looking for a stylish midsize car, a spacious SUV, or a truck that performs at work and play? Robbie Robertson wants your vehicle and is paying top dollar. Now is the time to buy. Fords are cheaper in the swamp.
Welcome, sports fans, and thanks for watching On Air with 912 Sports. I'm Sean Smoke, GM of 912 Sports. Along here with Kevin Price, head writer and podcast host. Kevin, how we doing this evening?
Good, Sean. Good to be here once again, getting set for another week of high school football.
Yeah, Kevin, hard to believe we are fixing to be talking about Week 6. Week 6. It seems like yesterday we were talking about summer OTAs, but here we go. We're almost halfway through the regular season here. So, but we're going to start it off with Miller County at Appling. Miller comes off a loss to Early County. Appling comes off a loss to DeLand, Florida. Really a little bit closer game than I expected with DeLand. DeLand's a really, really good football team out of down there in the Daytona Beach area. Really, Appling had a good showing, but this is a chance for them to get back in the win column on Friday night.
Yeah, Appling lost that game last week 46-30. I guess you could say that was a respectable loss. I mean, that is a good team they played. And but I know that Appling's probably getting tired of losing, and so is their fan base. But if you're looking to get well, this may be the time to do it. They're facing another 1-3 football team. They're back home in Baxley. So I would say this is a good chance to get it done, go out and punch one into the win column this Friday night.
Moving right along, we've got Thomasville going to make the ride all the way over here to Alma to take on Bacon County and the Red Raiders. Red Raiders coming off a big win over Lanier, 27-21. Thomasville 3-1 on the season. They actually had an open date last week or a bye week last week. Their last game, they lost to TCC, which is no shame for anybody to lose to TCC. Thomasville is really, really good. Bacon's going to have their hands full Friday night.
No question. I mean, Bacon has won their last 3 ball games, so they got the momentum on their side. But this is going to be a little different animal than they played during that 3-game winning streak. Thomasville is really good. They're ranked in Class A pretty high in the rankings, actually, I think in the top 5. The only loss they do have is to their county rival there or city rival. I know they're a city school, Thomas County Central, the county school. They got beat up pretty good in that ball game, but I think that's just a testament to how good TCC is. and they very well could go on and end up winning the Class 5A championship. But this Thomasville team really sound on defense, really good on defense. In 2 of their ball games that they won, they gave up a touchdown in the game against Cairo. I think they won that one scoring over 40 and giving up, I think, 23 points. But and then that lopsided loss to TCC. So Bacon's going to have their hands full, particularly with that Thomasville defense. Hopefully they can go out and get this game into the fourth quarter and somehow find a way to win it. But this is going to be a stiff challenge and maybe a litmus test, if you will, for Bacon County.
Next game up, Statesboro is going to travel over to Bradwell. Statesboro went to Glen Academy last week, Kevin. You had the call there between the bricks. But, Statesboro come up on the short end. Glen got the better of them 36-8. And Bradwell, after that big win over Glen Academy the week before, they lose to Effingham by a final score of 43-35. But, again, another respectable score there for Bradwell.
Yeah, Sean, bear with me here. I'm going to say a mouthful, but I'm going to kind of lay it out there and paint the picture for you in this region, Region 1 5A, starting with this ball game. This has turned in to be what could be a big ball game when you look at the overall picture. First of all, no disrespect to the Augusta area teams, but I think we could almost move them to the back of the pack. I don't foresee any of those teams making the playoffs out of this region. That's Greenbrier. That's Lakeside Evans, and that's also Evans. And then, again, I think here in Southeast Georgia, South Effingham may just be a little bit outside of that playoff window. We'll talk about them again here in a moment. So I think you're looking at 5 teams for 4 spots. Brunswick's the front runner, clearly, no question about that. Everybody's going to get their shot at them. Effingham already has, and they failed big time. These other teams that are in contention, they're going to get their shot at them too. That's going to be Bradwell. That's going to be Statesboro, and that's going to be Glen Academy. All these teams are going to play each other. Here's one of these matchups. Everybody's got a chance to win head-to-head, and we'll have to see how it all shakes out, what kind of order they come out in. But right now, Statesboro lost the trump card, to Glen Academy. Bradwell has the trump card over Glen Academy. Effingham has the trump card by beating Bradwell. Now, here's this matchup between these 2 teams. Of course, all these teams, except for Effingham, going to get their shot at the Brunswick High School Pirates. And then, of course, they're all playing each other. So this is a big game when you look at all these teams behind Brunswick, who looks like the front runner, even though nobody's going to necessarily throw in the towel and give it to them without a fight. All these teams are jockeying for those 4 spots. So this is a huge game between Bradwell and Statesboro. Statesboro's got some nice pieces, I think, on offense. Bradwell may be a little bit more explosive. So this may be which defense can get the other team into third down situations and get off the field. This is going to be a really good ball game. I think a fourth quarter ball game, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Kevin, you said the magic number. There's 5 teams, only 4 spots. So we'll see who can get it done. Moving right along, Brantley got to go to the Pinelands this year to play Jeff Davis. I think Jeff Davis might be a little better than they were last year. I think they're definitely Brantley's not going to sneak up on them this year. But Brantley's going to have their hands full going to the Pinelands to try to get win number 1 there in the region. Yeah,
for sure. This is going to be a tall order for Brantley, but, they did get it done last year. I do think this Jeff Davis team is better on both sides of the football. We know what their forte is, and that's running that football right at you and seeing, if they can wear you down over a 4-quarter ball game. They're ranked in the top 10 there in that classification. The funny thing is they list Kobe Hill as a linebacker and I think, maybe a defensive lineman on their roster on Max Preps, but he's obviously a running back as well, averaging just a little over 120 yards a ball game. So you have to take him into account. You have to slow him down first and foremost to stop that offense. But when you look at their rushing stats, Sean, I looked at them today. They've gotten better each ball game. They had 173 yards rushing in game 1 against Washington County. They won that one. 382 yards. Their next game, of course, they won that one. And 521 yards on the ground their next game. So Jeff Davis, their forte, run that ball at you, and they're doing it really well right now.
Right, so we'll see who can get that first region victory there. Next game up, Greenbrier at Brunswick. Greenbrier, I believe, was open last week. They're coming to the contest 1-2. Their last game, they did lose to Statesboro. Brunswick with that big win over Evans last week, 65-0. I think Brunswick cruises in this one again.
Yeah, cruising is probably one way to put it. I mean, Greenbrier has already had 2 off weeks. They were off in the region rotation last week, so they'll play straight on through now. But when you look at this Brunswick team, just a few footnotes on that game last week since the last time we talked. I mean, they blew the doors off of Evans up there in Augusta last week, winning that ball game 65-0. The biggest thing was the Pirates got off the bus not only ready to play, but more than ready to play. They were up 23-0 after the first quarter, 44-0 at halftime. I think just about everybody that got on the bus got in that ball game for at least one snap with the running clock in the second half, which that's hard to do, by the way. But anyhow, just took care of business against a weaker opponent. That margin of victory, the largest ever for a Brunswick High team, the 65-point margin, and the 65 points were the fourth most scored in a single game in program history. They've hit 70 twice and 68 once. But I don't think this one will turn out that bad, Sean. Greenbrier is probably the best of the bunch when you look at scores out of these Augusta schools. They're going to try to play physical. They would prefer to play it in a phone booth, but Brunswick's not going to let them play that way. They're going to turn it into a track meet, and Brunswick's going to run them out of the stadium. They'll cross the finish line way ahead of Greenbrier if you want to look at it like that.
And Camden County is going to finish up their Florida tour, Kevin, this week. They play one more Florida school, Royal Palm Beach, Florida. They're not even listed in the top 50 schools of Florida. And then Camden comes in, the number 24 team in the state of Georgia, regardless of classification. They were open last week, but Camden will be ready, and they'll go into that region play, undefeated.
Yeah, you kind of talked about them not being, ranked themselves that high in Florida, but I looked at who they played just to kind of double check, how weak their schedule's been. They are undefeated at 4-0, by the way. But if I look correctly, I don't think they played anybody inside the top 100 in Florida either. So that tells you a little bit as well. But I don't think they've been scored on, and they've scored over 40 points in every one of their ball games. But just to give you an idea of, some of the teams that are ranked in Florida that we've already seen playing some of our teams, Bartram Trail, I think, ranked 12th in their classification, which I believe is that 5A or 6A in Florida?
I believe it's 5.
And then also West Broward, who Camden did play, is 13 in that same classification, I believe. And then Eastlake, which Camden played, is also 17th in that classification. So even though this team looks like they're good on paper, they can't stack up to those three teams. So Camden will score, and they'll probably score a lot. And this team won't score the 40 they've been scoring. They won't score enough to stay with Camden. And like you say, Camden's real season starts with the Valdosta Wildcats next week.
Well, hey, sports fans, don't forget to pick up the latest copy of 912 Sports Magazine. It's a September-October issue. Kevin wrote a great article on Tucker Perkins there, the quarterback there at Effingham. So pick it up and check it out. It's at distribution points all around the 912. But stick around. We've got more on air with 912 Sports coming up next.
Gibson Animal Clinic is ready to help with your animals. From cats to dogs to horses, we treat them all. Call on us for grooming, bathing, boarding, and more serious things like surgery, dentistry, spay, neuter, immunizations, heartworm prevention, flea control, complete lab testing, radiology, preventive health care. Call us at 285-7678. Open Saturdays for your convenience. Gibson Animal Clinic. Practical solutions with reasonable fees. Russell J. Gibson, DVM.
Gibson Animal Clinic, 108 Riverside Drive, Waycross.
Hablamos español en nuestra clínica.
Summit Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Surgery, you don't have to be an athlete to get the region's best orthopedic care. Our board-certified orthopedic surgeons and physicians treat injuries and conditions that affect just about any joint or bone in your body. Plus, we're backed by the support of Southeast Georgia Health System. From fracture repair to joint replacement, Summit Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Surgery will get you moving again. Call 1-855-ASK-SGHS. That's 1-855-275-7447 or visit sghs.org/summit.
Welcome back, sports fans, and thanks for watching On Air with 912 Sports. I'm Sean Smoke. He's Kevin Price. We're talking a little high school football here in the 912. Game slated for September the 19th. But the next game we're going to talk about, Kevin, is mainland Daytona Beach is going to travel down to Coffee. Coffee coming off a big win over Gadsden, Florida. Gadsden comes into the 46th best team in Florida regardless of classification. Coffee was able to win that game 20-12. Mainland Florida comes in even a little bit better than that, Kevin. They're 32 in all of Florida, regardless of classification. And if that name sounds familiar, this is Coach Travis Rowland from the Camden County Wildcats. This is his old school there in Daytona Beach.
Yes, sir. You mentioned where they are ranked overall in Florida, but I think in their classification, which is 5A, they are number 6. Like you mentioned, they are 2-1 overall. Their only loss is to Spruce Creek, the number 4 ranked team in the higher classification, 7A, and it was 20-16. So a really good, battle there, losing by 4 points. These two teams did play each other last year, talking about Coffee and Mainland, and Coffee came away with a low-scoring win, 10-7. Coffee maybe started a little bit further behind the 8 ball this year than I thought they would in a rebuilding year, but I think you can see the progress that they are making. That was a good, solid win for them last week. I think this is going to be a rock'em sock'em type of ball game here, a border battle between Georgia and Florida. And I think, Coffee's going to be in for another good ball game that's going to prepare them for a really rugged region schedule, whether they win it or lose it. But hopefully our Southeast Georgia squad can get it done.
Yeah, we'll see. I think, Coffee's, like I said, they're getting better every week, Kevin. They're sitting there at 2-2. But that was a huge win last week, getting that win over Gadsden. We'll see if they can get it done against another Florida school there out of Daytona Beach. Effingham at South Effingham. Kevin, one of those inter-county, not really inner-city county thing. This is 2 county schools over there in Effingham. Effingham beat Bradwell last week 43-35. And Kevin, South Effingham broke the streak last week. Congratulations to Coach Purvis and the Mustangs down there. They did get to beat Lakeside Evans. Final was 20-14 in overtime. So I'm sure there were some nails chewed off there in South Effingham last week.
Well, that was definitely a winnable ball game on paper, and good to see them get it done, particularly there in Guyton in front of the home fans. And I know it was a relief to get one in the win column and kind of experience, the way what it feels like to win on a Friday night under the lights. Now, obviously, they're going to have their work cut out for them in this one against their crosstown rival there, Effingham. Look, Effingham's been shaky on defense, though, yep. Sean. There's no question they have an offense. But, last week, I would have thought, going into that game, it might have been a little easier than it was against Bradwell. But Bradwell's proven, like I said, to have some explosive players on offense, and they gave Effingham, it sounds like, all they wanted last week. So we'll see what they can do here in this game against their county rival. Obviously, Effingham favored on paper, but, strange things can happen in these ball games. But Effingham should win, and they should, again, stay on pace to be somewhere in that top 4 out of Region 1-5A.
Next up, Kevin, Brookwood Academy at Frederica. This game's going to be under the Oaks over there on St. Simon's Island. Our cohort, Robbie Ross, will have the call on that game as well. But Frederica coming off a tough loss to Stratford Academy up there in Macon last week. Didn't get it done, but I think this is a winnable game. This is a homecoming contest, I think, for Frederica. So we'll see if they can get a win there for the fans on homecoming.
Yeah, that'll make it even bigger, not only just being at home, but a festive night. Hopefully for homecoming. Look, I think they went up there to Stratford last week, and we talked about them, kind of gutting it out, grinding it out the week before at home against Tift Area. And I think they went up there with that same mindset against Stratford, which can score in bunches. I think they just ran out of gas, it sounds like, in the second half. But, and Stratford kind of took it to them. They don't two-platoon, as much as Frederica does, with kids playing on both sides of the ball, particularly in the trenches, and that kind of wore on Frederica. Just the numbers game did, but also Frederica had 2 costly turnovers, Sean, inside the red zone. You can't score every time down there necessarily, but when you get down there in a game like they were in, you want to punch those in. Very easily could have been, a tie ball game if they get those 2 scores in there, but they turned it over down, deep in Stratford territory, and that ends up costing them as they lost that ball game 28-13. But hopefully this is a winnable ball game against a 1-4 Brookwood team. Hopefully they can get it done there, like you say, on homecoming night on St. Simon's Island.
Next game up, Glenn at Lakeside Evans. Kevin, I guess the rumors of the Red Terror's death has been greatly exaggerated. They come out with a big win over Statesboro there Friday night, 36-8. Game really was never in doubt. I mean, Glenn just came out, played great football all night long, and got the victory. Lakeside Evans 0-4 on the season. They lost to South Effingham in that big overtime game, 20-14. So Glenn, on paper, should win this one easily. So we'll see if they can go on the road and get it done.
Yeah, again, that's kind of where it starts, I guess, is, making that trip to Augusta, not making too big a deal out of it, getting off the bus, ready to go. I mean, Coach Rock and his coaches, they can't sugarcoat it or try to make this team out to be something they're not. Their kids have the internet. They know how to do research. They can look at the scores and tell this is not the same Lakeside team that it was a year ago. They lost their head coach. They lost that great senior class that they had, including that great quarterback who, was dynamite with the ball in his hands. He was also good on the basketball floor with the ball in his hands. He's gone. A lot of their playmakers are gone. They do have some good skill on the outside, like Coach Rock said in the Glenn podcast that we have online now. They could throw it up, 10 times, complete 3 of them, and they all could be for touchdowns, and that's 21 points. Right. So it's just that kind of thing. They have some playmakers out there that can go up and get the ball. So Glenn's going to have to deny the big play there. But Glenn should win this ball game. It should be relatively easy. They did get the offense going last week after a slow start. Led that ball game 16-0 at the half, but continued to have some good production offensively in the second half. Had some 5 and 6 minute drives of 60 yards plus. 7, 8, 10 plays and punched them in on Statesboro, and their defense played a well of a ball game. Like I said, Statesboro's got some good pieces on offense, throwing and running. Their sophomore quarterback's really good. He's a guy that can build around the next couple of years. Glenn held them to 1 touchdown that was coming out of the half when they had the third quarter kickoff. They came out in a heavy package and hit a big play on Glenn, and Glenn couldn't keep him out of the end zone. But other than that, the Glenn defense played pretty well. And, Glenn's going to hang their hat on defense and try to get just enough offense, but they should get plenty of offense to win this one.
Next up, we've got Liberty at Islands. Liberty beat Long in a big overtime game. I think the final score was 40-34 this past Friday night, so that puts him kind of a leg up on Long County there in that region. And then Islands beat Grove 31-18, and I'm not sure, Kevin, how long it's been since Islands won a football game, but they're coming off a big victory there. So Liberty's kind of got to keep their head on a swivel there with with Islands maybe comes in with a little bit of momentum.
Yeah, well, first of all, I did want to hit on that. Islands did win a ball game, and, that stopped the presses there because they did win a ball game. Sean, it was 37 games in a row, I do believe, that they had lost. So that's 3+ seasons of losing football games there. By the way, just a footnote on that, it was against Groves, and it was at that new stadium over there in Garden City. I think they're just calling it Grove Stadium now instead of the old Garden City Stadium. And look here. That stadium need to be rebuilt. It need to be done probably back in the 80s. You talk about a raggedy stadium. That thing had been raggedy for a long, long time. But anyway, I think they got a new school and all that over at Grove. So the new football field, I'm sure, is nice. And that was just sort of a little footnote to that thing that Islands, maybe they were inspired or what, I don't know. But they ended up getting it done on that new field. Now, Liberty, a big ball game last week, too, a big win for them over Long. When we talk about looking at big picture, we'll see what that means when all is said and done in this region. The biggest thing for Liberty, though, is to not get the big head and not still be thinking about last week, come out in this one and go attack Islands, go at them, get the job done, get out of there with a W.
But hey, sports fans, make sure you hit the like and the subscribe button on the 912 Sports YouTube page. By doing so, you'll get the latest videos on high school sports from around the 912, and it sure helps us out. So stick around. We got more On Air with 912 Sports coming up right after these messages.
Play it loud and rev it up. Robbie Robertson's got trucks built for tough.
Make your way to Robbie Robertson Ford in Waycross, where the deals are bigger than ever. Looking for a stylish midsize car, a spacious SUV, or a truck that performs at work and play? Robbie Robertson wants your vehicle and is paying top dollar. Now is the time to buy. Fords are cheaper in the swamp.
High schoolers, Did you know that you can get a head start on your college career and save money at the same time through dual enrollment at Coastal Pines Technical College? Dual enrollment is open to high school juniors and seniors, tuition free. Talk to your high school counselor or visit coastalpines.edu for more information. Coastal Pines Technical College, an equal opportunity institution. Go Coastal.
It makes sense Prime South Bank would have a great mobile app. Nobody is as mobile as our customers. For a century, they've chased dreams, followed their hearts, took the road less taken, made a new path, taken leaps of faith. At Prime South, offering the latest digital banking, secure pay apps, and new online lending is part of a mobile tradition that goes way back. Life is mobile. So is Prime South. Find your Prime. Member FDIC.
Welcome back, sports fans, and thanks for watching On Air with 912 Sports. I'm Sean Smoke. He's Kevin Price, and we're going to wrap up the games that are scheduled for Friday, September the 19th, right here. We're going to start off with Beach at Lone County. Lone coming off that tough region loss to Liberty, Kevin, and Beach with a big win over Windsor Forest, putting up 49 points, winning that game 49-18. So kudos to Beach for getting it done, their first win on the season. But Lone's got to make sure, Kevin, that Liberty game doesn't beat them twice.
For sure. That's kind of where it starts for Lone. They got to put that one in the rearview mirror, just go forward from there. Of course, they're probably going to look to take their frustrations out on the Beach Bulldogs, and quite frankly, they should. I don't think Beach is very good on defense. Lone should be able to take that ball and take it right at them and be in the end zone several times, if not in the first half, certainly over the course of 4 quarters. So I would expect Lone really to run away with this.
Next game up, Scriven's going to travel to MCA. MCA won Friday night, Kevin, but a lot closer game than I expected with Claxton 22-14. And in Scriven County, I believe they were off last week, had a bye, but they come into the contest 3-0. Really some big win margins. I mean, really haven't had a close game in the first 3. And then, of course, MCA's been close and have put a couple in the L column. So there is a light component there with Claxton, but we'll see who gets it done there Friday night. At least McIntosh does get Scriven there at home.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a struggle so far for McIntosh County Academy, and that game last week was certainly a struggle. I think they were down at the half, didn't really play well, but in the second half, their defense did put the clamps on that Claxton offense, and they got just enough offense going to pull out that victory there late in the ball game. I think they broke a 14-14 tie with a late score and got out of there with a win. Now, this Scriven team, I think they're undefeated like we talked about. They do have that common opponent against Claxton, which they beat them 33-3. So they handled Claxton pretty good. This is a game that McIntosh probably should win at home, but Scriven's kind of a pesky opponent that's going to give, McIntosh all they want. Right now, McIntosh just kind of hasn't been able to get out of their own way, Sean. It has been a grind, a struggle. They've hurt themselves with penalties and turnovers on offense. You would like to think that if they just keep plugging away, eventually things are going to click for them, and they'll get out of their own way, and hopefully that will happen as we start to get into region play.
Speaking of Pierce, that's going to be the next game we talk about. The Brooks Trojans finally get one in the W column, go on the road and beat Fitzgerald 21-3. An impressive win there for Brooks County. They'll take on Pierce. Pierce, like we said, beat New Hampstead 39-14. But hey, man, winning in Bearville is not going to be easy. So.
Yeah, winning in Bearsville is not easy, but a win over Brooks is not necessarily easy either. Now, they're probably not as good as they have been, but when you look at the teams they've played, I mean, they haven't played the weak sisters of the poor like some of the teams we've mentioned earlier in this broadcast with, these sparkling 3-0 and 4-0 records. But, they did beat Fitzgerald, like you said, but their losses are to a Thomasville team we've already talked about, also Cook, and also Worth. They both have good football teams the last time I checked as well. But I do think at home, Pierce is probably going to be too tough, too good for these guys. Both teams want to play physical. This is going to be another rock'em sock'em ball game where you better have all your equipment strapped up and be ready to go. But Pierce looking like the typical Pierce team that we thought they would be. And here they are with a chance to have another great season. Here's a chance to pick up another quality win.
Yeah, and this one will not be over in the first quarter like some of their games have been this year for sure. But next game up, Kevin, Richmond Hill is going to travel, and I'm going to butcher this name. I think it's Buchholz Florida.
Gainesville Buchholz,
Yeah. This is the number 26 team in Florida. They're 3-1 on the season. Of course, Richmond undefeated on the season. They beat Wayne 41-9. But this is going to be a tough test for the Wildcats to make that haul down to Florida and play a really, really good football team.
Yeah, Gainesville Buchholz 3-1 on the year. They are number 5 in Class 6A in Florida, which is Florida's second largest classification. So this is going to be a good football team that Richmond Hill is going to play. Maybe the best football team they've played yet this year. And so it will be a good test for them, particularly going on the road down into the Sunshine State. And, we'll see if Richmond Hill can keep rolling. I mean, they do seem to be getting better and better as we go. They have some good numbers on both sides of the football. Last week, good stats in that ball game against Wayne. So, I don't really know exactly the challenge that Buchholz presents in terms of formations and whatnot, but we know what Richmond Hill wants to do. They want to get physical with you on both sides of the ball, line up and try to hammer the football at you on offense and, come at you, with good run defense and get physical and get after your quarterback when they're on defense. So obviously their schedule going to get a lot tougher regardless if they win or lose this one when they get into that, rugged region they're in along with Camden. So some big football games coming up for the Wildcats, as we move forward. But sure would be nice to see them pick up another non-region victory here for sure.
Yeah, well, games like this will definitely get you ready for that region because this is going to be a tough non-region opponent here. Next game up, Lincoln at Tallahassee is going to come to Ware for the second year in a row. Ware was open last week. Ware sitting there at number 25 in the state of Georgia, regardless of classification. Lincoln 2-1 on the season. They're ranked number 62, regardless of classification. They're in the state of Florida. But this is a really, really dominant football team last year when they came to the Swamp, Kevin. I think 9 of their guys on the defensive side of the ball wind up signing to play college ball. All 9 of those guys are gone. They got a new coach. They did stay within the staff. So things are a little bit different for Lincoln this year, but still it's going to be a tough test for the Gators on Friday night.
Yeah, I did not know that exact number about all those players you talked about, but that's not surprising. Tallahassee Lincoln has had athletes for years. One of the best high school football games I've ever seen was Tallahassee Lincoln against Valdosta years ago now over there in Valdosta. I mean, they had some names on that team too. But when you look at this game, Sean, first of all, I'm sort of getting tired of talking about these Florida versus Georgia matchups, even though this is a good one. If we're going to have them, they might as well be like this. But I'm looking forward to Ware versus BC and Coffee versus Lee County and stuff like that. These things are nice, but let's get Georgia and Georgia and South Georgia against South Georgia. Let's buckle up and go. But anyway, this is going to be a good game. It's really, when you talk about both teams having the ball, it's going to be 2 teams that maybe attack you in different ways. Ware County's got that good run game going so far, and this Tallahassee Lincoln team can throw the football. They got a quarterback, Taylor Jacobs, I believe is his name. He's a South Alabama commit. Yeah. Real good pocket passer, real accurate, good high football IQ. Has thrown for over 1,000 yards each of the last couple of seasons. I think he's thrown for right at 600 yards already this year, so right around the 200-yard mark, in their 3 ball games. So that's where it kind of starts for Ware, is kind of keeping him from making big plays in the passing game. But obviously, they've got to stop that Ware County run game as well.
Yeah, Kevin, getting back to the Florida-Georgia thing, I think they need to put a cap on it, maybe one a year for each team, and let's move on and let's play Georgia versus Georgia football here. But, hey, sports fans, pick up the latest copy of 912 Sports Magazine. This is September-October issue. Kevin wrote a great article in there on the scholar athlete Fuller Wembley from over at Frederick Academy. So pick it up at distribution points today. But, hey, stick around. We got more On Air with 912 Sports coming up right after these messages.
At Summit Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Surgery, you don't have to be an athlete to get the region's best orthopedic care. Our board-certified orthopedic surgeons and physicians treat injuries and conditions that affect just about any joint or bone in your body. Plus, we're backed by the support of Southeast Georgia Health System. From fracture repair to joint replacement, Summit Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Surgery will get you moving again. Call 1-855-ASK-SGHS. That's 1-855-275-7447 or visit sghs.org/summit.
Gibson Animal Clinic is ready to help with your animals. From cats to dogs to horses, we treat them all. Calling us for grooming, bathing, boarding, and more serious things like surgery, dentistry, spay, neuter, immunizations, heartworm prevention, flea control, complete lab testing, radiology, preventive health care. Call us at 285-7678. Open Saturdays for your convenience. Gibson Animal Clinic. Practical solutions with reasonable fees. Russell J. Gibson, DVM.
Gibson Animal Clinic, 108 Riverside Drive, Waycross.
Hablamos español en nuestra clínica.
This has been a presentation of 912 Sports.